Hello and welcome to another video. So we have Aegis Haven, which I've deliberately spelt wrong, which is absolutely hilarious. Anyway, we've got all the pretty standard stuff, the Snow White, the Aegis, all the basic curve, the Winged Sentinel, which now fits really nicely with Hare's Tea Time, Tribunal, Beast Call, and your basic clear materials. So it fits really quite well. The double curate, hard spot to slot in, but fits quite nicely. The Goblin Break Tina, countering most neutral decks, along with Heavenly Hound comboing with Princess Snow White. So we've got a couple of interesting games here, so we'll get right into that, and you can check those out. So we have a game 1 against Blood. Nice meta representation, getting a nice Blood deck out there. And our hand is pretty mediocre. I'm not a fan of drawing Grimnir, Winged Sentinel and March of Hare in an opener. Being able to trade those out for some early drops fits really well into our curve. If only we had a 1-drop. So fortunately Blood doesn't play anything. Guess that's kind of expected. Most Blood decks now are betting on Trove for turn 2. But they obviously don't have that in their hand, so that's not happening. And we get a turn 3, 4/4 and a 2/1. Pretty nice. They try and deal with it with Hungering Horde. I don't know what they're aiming for. Personally, I probably would have hit the 2/1 unless they're aiming maybe to clear it in the next turn. We just get to a ram face. Had a lot of success with this Haven, 3 in a row so far, which is pretty good. You can bet on hyper early game by just tempoing out, or you can bet on the late game by dropping Aegis to win. Either is a really good option. Just don't be scared to play your Grimnirs early. You're also trying to mulligan for things like Snow White in the early game, because that comboed with Heavenly Hound can be really crazy. And they go for Revelations. Not that that makes a big difference to me. Let me just ping the 3. Probably should have evolved this though, but betting on the fact that they were probably going to either Revelations or something else would have been better. So my biggest mistake here was not getting rid of that 2/5. I should have evolved into it, traded it, stopped them from being able to use the Drain effect, which I just completely blanked on. I wish I hadn't, but that just turned out to be the case. Luckily, Decree pretty much clears this out, not causing too much issue. And we have plenty of other removal left over, along with a Heavenly Aegis next turn. So even if they drop their Abyss here, which they do, they're only going to be able to max 16 damage. They need to find another 4 damage within the next turn. I think the only way to pull that off would be to play another Abyss, ram that Abyss into Aegis with the Evolve, and then trade the 6/6 damage to my face. Which is still what? That would be lethal. Just. That would have been their only win condition there. So I might have been better playing Tribunal, but I just bet on the Aegis play because I knew that if I play that out, I have lethal next turn with Grimnir. So I got a little bit lucky that they didn't have an extra Abyss, or if they didn't realize they hadn't had that combo. And then that just wins me the game pretty much straight off the bat. Which is not too bad. Our Lord and Savior, Heavenly Aegis. Alright, we got game 2. Haven vs Haven. I get a feeling like Haven is going to quickly build up the ranks. It's already got a 57% win rate, but it's only got about a play rank of about 3,000 games compared to the Blood and Sword, which are about, what? Sword is 50, Blood's 57 as well, I believe. And they've got about 10,000 plays, so with a third of the players, Haven really just doesn't have that many people playing it, unfortunately. This deck also at the moment is ranked a lot better than the Heavenly Lion one. So if you are going to play a Haven deck, I would recommend playing this one. So we do get the Snow White in the early game, which is great. I didn't want to use it here though. I didn't want to trade into the 2-1. I thought I would hold off and try and get a better trade value. And luckily we do. This is a tough matchup. They're playing a neutral variant Haven as well. Luckily we do get the Heavenly Hound, which is still probably one of the best combos. Basically you just get a free Heavenly Hound, you don't have to worry about the evolve, and you can play it out earlier than turn 4 or 5 in most cases. And it blocks aggro really nicely. Luckily we have March of Hares, easily clearing the Eagle and the 4-1. Probably one of the most valuable cards of this deck is March of Hares, right next to Snow White. They're two of the cards you don't want to be replacing with anything. Heavenly Aegis is also another card you can't really replace. It's just too big a late game finisher. Most of the replace cards would be just neutral cards, or maybe just swapping out a couple of other amulets here and there based on what you want to play. Grimnir is kind of crucial to end game, so is Aegis. Early game's crucial to Snow White and Heavenly Hound, and mid game the amulet for Tin Soldier, along with probably Gruda as a crazy combo piece for things like this. Just the kind of plays you want to see pulled off. And if you use Tin Soldier in this way, you're better off always hitting face and then just trading it. It's very, unless you're going for a 2-for-1, it's definitely better to hit face. So they get their own hair. So I try and decide what I want to do from here. I mean, I have a few okay options. We can go for 8 damage to face, but instead I think, yeah, just trade it. Use Tribunal off that draw, and then just hit them in the head. Set them to 6 and they concede. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Now we have the final game, also against Blood. So I didn't really get a sword matchup, but Sword and Blood function very similar in how they're played. Blood is actually a bit better than Sword at the moment. So a good representation is that this deck should perform well against Sword, if it can perform well against Blood. You may have a little bit of trouble here and there, but overall I think your match win rate should be a lot higher, especially since Blood is like everywhere at the moment. The other deck that I haven't been able to test against is Burn Rune, but I suspect that with an okay hand you should be able to hopefully curve that out. Otherwise it's probably just going to be a loss. So not a bad start off, getting that 2-1 out. So I decided just to kill off this Trove here, well not kill it off, but deal the damage to it and then kill the 2-2, leaving up a 2-1, which can trade if need be. Plus we have got the option of Goblin Breaker, which is pretty nice. The only thing to be aware of with Blood is to make sure your health doesn't drop too low. Like here I'm at a big risk, because if they do manage to spawn me, I am in a bad spot. My only luck is that the Tribunal and the Decree can easily kill off the spawn before it can deal massive damage. And hopefully I can ping in enough damage before then. Because they do go for the turn 5 Bahamut. Which I decide, hey, let's just play out the Tin March. because I can use it similarly to the last match where I just trade the Tin Soldier and hit them for 3, getting me that extra little bit of damage, and the Tin Soldier will also combo nicely with Winged Sentinel next turn for a total of 6 damage and potential clear. So if they leave anything up here, they're pretty screwed. And fortunately they do, because I expected them to go straight into Abyss due to them curving out that way. So as long as you set up lethal the turn before, you're pretty right. Because their Abyss, they're just not going to be doing anything with it. They're going to be leaving it to try and kill you. So it's not too hard to deal with. So overall, I think I'll probably be using this deck a lot more until people start to try and tech against it. It's been performing amazingly. The biggest weakness I think will maybe be the rune, and potentially that's about it. Mirror matches obviously aren't great either because of the 50-50 split. But overall it performs quite well against Blood and Sword, which is the main 2 decks at the moment. Rune obviously, yeah, taking in probably I'd say 20% to 30% of the rest of the ladder, compared to where Blood is probably at nearly 50. Sword is probably close, I guess. I don't know how I'd break it up completely, but definitely not too bad. There's nothing I'd really change in this deck. I suppose if you wanted to change something, you maybe I'd just change the Beast Calls, Hollow Dogmas, and that's probably about it. Everything else you really want to keep. The Curates are just too good for healing if you do get aggroed down. The Goblin Breaker against the current and neutral decks is strong. Once neutral decks die down, probably dropping Goblin Breaker into something else would be better. But other than that, you can only really drop Beast Call to maybe 2, trade that out. Maybe remove Hollow Dogma completely and put in 3 other amulets or something. That's probably all I can think of. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to check out the deck list in the description below. Hit that like button and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.